Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. We continue with our discussion, talking a little bit about, is there a formula to a long-term solution to election management in the country? And I'm still here with my guests. On my immediate left is Ogla Karani, a member of the former IEBC selection panel. She was a member of that selection panel. And Jack Tumwa, a former ECK commissioner as well. We also have your feedback via the SMS line 22422, hashtag Monday Report. This is what you are saying this evening. All right, the first one coming up. Frank Orinde says, the bipartisan approach must start from a sincere ground, and they must agree to come up with a framework that will resolve our biggest problem in the name of election management. It is the mismanagement of elections that puts the nation at crossroads every election cycle. SN Nyamora, you say a permanent solution to the perennial political impasse is to establish a purely parliamentary system of governance. This will reduce the stakes of direct election of the president. It is here that IEBC is mainly influenced to rig. Duncan Okach says, Isaac Hassan in his book says politicians and their interference is one of the major issues for the past electoral management bodies in Kenya. And Eruko Jr., you say political goodwill is important in strengthening independent institutions. Bipartisan approach, I believe honesty will drive it, hence better future of our elections. We need the right panel that has political impetus, skills, because this is an election body. All right, somebody here says via 22422, Tom Amisi from Homa Bay, you say there will never be a commission that will satisfy politicians until they have self-discipline. It can't be that every election is faulted, okay? Someone else here who, no name, but you say non-partisan versus bipartisan approach, poachers approving. Okay, I don't think that makes sense, so we'll skip that for now. But you're getting a general sense of what Kenyans are saying this evening. And Jack, coming back to you, I wanted to find out from you. Political players have made the IEBC the scapegoat for whatever they deem as that which did not go right in every election. Why are they always baying for the blood of the members of that election management body? And what causes heat in there? I mean, we can talk about the last two commissions. They were bloody. To put it to describe it that way, we had members going into exile, others were forced out. What is it like in there?
I think really what we lack in this country is political discipline. And as I keep saying, until we find a way of penalizing people who break the law, the election law, the Constitution, it becomes very, very difficult because politicians have found a way of getting away with terrible, terrible things, crimes that they commit in the election. I don't remember anybody having been committed for a political offense in Kenya. And so,
well, we've seen links to procurement around political events, but I do get...
I'm talking about politicians.
Okay.
Because you're talking now about the officials, perhaps, of the IEBC, etc. So people have been left to, hey, I mean, it is take it or leave it. And you know, getting into politics in Kenya, people are ready to kill to get there. We have turned politics into an economic zone. It is like... it is a gold mine. So politicians will do anything to get into politics. And this is where misbehavior comes in. When they look at IEBC, they expect IEBC to work helping them to get into positions. So anybody who says, this is the law, this is what we are required to do, that one is irrelevant. A politician, like we used to say, they go straight. There are no corners on their road. They wanted to plow through to get whatever they want to get. So it makes it very difficult until we... And by the way, we got our rules, we got regulations, they are all in place. It is the implementation that we lack. So until we find a commission strong enough and supported with other government agencies to penalize these offenders, it is still going to be difficult to have discipline in our political setup. the way it is.
So what is your recommendation then in terms of the personality of the next IEBC chairperson?
Of the chairperson?
Of the chairperson specifically.
I think my sisters described exactly what the chairperson should be like. A mature person, a person who is able to liaise with the many other government agencies. People say it has to be a lawyer. I really don't know why they brought in this idea of chairman being a lawyer.
Maybe so they don't have to keep asking someone to help them interpret the law.
There is some legal, but it is not, I don't think it's compelling for the chairman of the ACK to be a lawyer. I think anybody with a flair of leadership, a credible person who can take that position and handle it pretty well. So that legal element, in my view, it is not necessary for the leader of the Electoral Commission. The commissioners, it is all spelled out in the Constitution what the requirements are. And like I say, my view is that perhaps this being a political animal, let's get the politician to share the slots.
That's your recommendation?
That is my recommendation. And I'm going back to IPPG, that they share the slots, the opposition takes 3, the government takes 3. How they elect, how they appoint, that is their business. But you know, like we did when we came in, we knew Waego is from Kanu, we are from the opposition. There was nothing we were hiding under the table. We did everything out here. You know, I knew you were on the other side, you know I'm on this side, but then it worked very, very well. And that is something that I would like to...
How do you handle disputes in a setup like that? How do you avoid a situation like the Cherera 4 situation where half the team walks out in the middle of an election and says, we disagree with this, whether it's merited or not, you can't tell, again, because they were nominated by a political party?
It comes up to what my sister said. I think it has some to do with the leadership. If the chair handled that position well, I don't think it would have come to that level. But you know, the Cherera group came in late. The other group had been there for over two years. And it is possible, I'm not saying it happened, but it is possible.
Actually, they've been there for 4 years.
Yeah. It is possible that the new group perhaps was not given responsibility like they expected it to be. And that could have been the source of bringing in the problems that we landed into.
Ogla, jump in also and give your thoughts. And what is your experience with the question of trust? As we talk about the IEBC, trust between the institution and players, trust between voters and the institution, and trust internally within the institution itself.
We need Jesus to help Kenya to be able to trust the political process from the cradle to where we are, because I don't know how much authority the IEBC have, but I think there is a way in which IEBC should be able to also demand from the political parties to conduct their own political processes in the transparent manner that they are expecting the IEBC to conduct for them. Because when the foundation is wrong, how do we expect then the outcome, the ultimate outcome, to be correct? There is always a lot of problems in Kenya when we are accusing only the 7 members of the IEBC, the commissioners. But hardly do political parties look inwardly, point at themselves and say, how did we actually handle our own processes so that we arrive here? How did we bring up these leaders at our primary levels, those that have now we ended up presenting to IEBC? So IEBC, the next commission should be able to demand from political parties that they help political parties to also conduct transparent processes before we even go to the general election, so that we have the right foundation. The reality of the matter is this: there is no match that politicians should be getting from IEBC. There is no match. Politicians that know their job will do their campaigns very well and look for their votes very well and expect the arbiter to only translate those results and say, this is what you have achieved. So we politicians, like he says, I don't like calling them political animals, although we have brought ourselves here because, you know, we have brought ourselves as a country to this place. Corruption does not only come from politicians. There are many. There is a lot of corporate corruption in Kenya, and there's a lot of upheavals in this country that are not really centered on politicians alone. But they need us, the leaders, the apex of leadership that we have in this country, to demonstrate the highest level of integrity so that they can demand the same integrity from the commission. So when you talk about trust, someone says that it is impossible to find trust. We are Kenyans. We all make this joke. Kenyans intermarry all the time. But when it comes to politics, they're always divided. Why? Because we just choose for a temporary moment to separate ourselves on tribal lines and all those things. We are able to trust ourselves if we choose to trust the commissioners that will be given. Even if we go the parliamentary, the IPPG system that he says, these political parties, I don't know, when you give that proposal, do you know that we don't just have two political systems? We don't have government and opposition. We have many other political parties. So I don't know now how. The reason why the selection panel helps to remedy this situation is because every political party then will say, I want to present my candidates. Then we'll have a commission that is more than 100 people. So we still need to consider that. But it is good what is happening now. I think what we need to pray for the selection panel, which is what we were asking people when we were at the selection panel, is that God will give them grace to choose leaders, and also for the people of Kenya to choose leaders who actually desire to lead for the purposes of the posterity of the nation of Kenya, not for personal gain. Because when we put this high price in leadership, especially in politics, of making wealth, quick wealth for self, we lose the purpose. And we need to continue speaking to ourselves that we need a leader who will be passionate and be driven by the desire to see Kenya progress genuinely, not from the mouth. Because the distance from the mouth and the heart in many of our leaders is very far. It's like Kenya and America. We need people who are genuine and who will really put the country first. So we start from the commission, and we also need politicians to consider themselves. By the time you put yourself out to go to contest for a political position, you should have considered that, what do I want to leave this nation with? And I keep forgetting, I know this, I don't know whether this will help anybody, but there is one thing that bothers me so much in this nation, Waiga. We are Africans and we are also Christians. Kenya is not a secular nation, it's a religious nation. So anyone who wants to tell us that, we are religious people. And in these two sectors of African culture and religion, whether it is Muslim or Hindu or Christian and all that, there is a doctrine that says whatever you do will affect your children and your generations. How is it that Kenyans are not afraid of this? How is it that as an arbiter of elections, or as a politician, or even as a corporate leader, people are not afraid to do things that will destroy the lives of their children? And we are seeing children being destroyed. We are seeing generations being wasted. And we can literally say, I know it is because so-and-so did this and that. We are seeing people dying prematurely, and the Bible says when some of these deaths are only because of sin. Why are people not afraid?
You've introduced a spiritual angle, and I'll give you a chance in your parting shot to weigh in more. Jack, so how do we move from here as your parting shot? We're at a crossroads. We have a selection panel that's working. The speculation, will another selection panel then come into play? That's been agreed on by all sides. We have a bipartisan approach. We know the majority side met. Minority, if they have met, have not briefed the nation on the possible way forward. What do we do in your parting shot, briefly?
Let me also be spiritual and say, let's pray that first the parliamentary, we are going through the parliamentary way. The parliament will identify people who are selfless, people who will look at the nation, people who will look at this generation and then the next generation, people who are not just looking at the 5-year cycle to lead this country. If we can get that type of team, where I know that there are hard cores on both sides. If our two leaders can avoid those articles who are going to make negotiations very difficult and get people who have got the people of Kenya in heart, I believe that we can get somewhere. But if we put these articles, although we are praying and thankful that the two leaders gave us a way forward yesterday, I think we are still in circles. The big problem starts when it comes to effecting the process, getting through what is supposed to be done.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that as your parting shot. Ogla, what's your parting shot this evening? On the same note, how do we proceed from here?
I saw wisdom and divine wisdom in President William Ruto when he decided that the reconciliation or the discussions going forward will be done through Parliament, because the parliamentarians were elected by people of Kenya to go and represent Kenya. And I'm so grateful that they did not bring for us again the story of let us form another commission, another Serena 1 or 2 or maybe 3 to discuss the harmonization or cohesion between the opposition and the government. And I think because I saw that wisdom from the president, that he is sent back this discussion to Parliament. Parliamentarians are representing Kenyans, and those people have the responsibility. They will be able to discuss and they'll come up with the correct way forward. I tend to think those parliamentarians in their wisdom, transferring the wisdom that the president gave us yesterday, will still support the current the IEBC selection panel. You know why? Because all of them are not representing one party. They are not representing the government, neither are they representing the opposition. There was a lot of robust processes that even the PSC went through in incorporating the selection panel, if we all remember. And I think if we check very carefully and we were to become genuine and honestly, that selection panel represents all political parties. It also represents the whole of Kenya. And I think the parliamentarians, I have faith that the parliamentarians will look at it very objectively, and they will support the selection panel to continue with their process. Because leadership actually have a way of sitting back and facing reality. And I know our parliament has sometimes, you know, we blame them sometimes, but I am a person who believes in our political class a lot. I know that they have sometimes sat and they have considered things and they've come up with very wise decisions. The selection panel is well constituted. And that the fact that the president in a divine wisdom sent this discussion to be done in Parliament, I believe we will move forward in the right direction. And I believe this election panel, borrowing and learning from what we did from our time, I don't know whether we were the first ones in this constitution. Chances are we were the first or the second. We were the first ones.
You're the first.
Then there was another one. We'll look for people who will not run away from the election the last day, or who will not do the things that we saw last time. Because, you know, when you have given yourself to serve people, you must be able to stand and take the bullet for you to dispense what you signed to do. So I believe that the parliament, when they sit together, they will still look at all the names. Maybe they will add 1 or 2 people. I don't know. But I think they will not want to disband this panel and bring another one, because this panel is representing Kenyans, and we need to move forward.
That is your reading.
I have faith. I have faith in Parliament.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think that's a good place to leave it. I really want to thank Ogla Karani, a member of the former IEBC selection panel, for coming to share her thoughts with us today with the experience that she has, together with Jack Tumwa, former ECK commissioner, also for joining us on the program this evening. We take a short break. I'll release my guests. When we come back, we'll just wrap it up. But also, we'll give you some updates from the U.S. We've been following behind the scenes. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, tomorrow set to be charged with a crime in relation to a payment that he made a couple of years back. We'll give you more details on that after this short break. We'll be right back.